Hi everybody, I have a project to share with you today. We're going to do some circle weaving for our Ancient Rome unit. I'm using this book called Classical Kids, and it's filled with all kinds of project ideas for Ancient Rome and Ancient Greek studies. So we're going to weave a round mat, and something kind of interesting happens at the end of this project, and I'll show you because I'm not sure if we did it right or wrong. But you're going to need some cardboard or chipboard for this, and I'm just using the back of a drawing paper pad. And you're going to need to make a circle, so you can use like a bowl or a compass. And you will also need some embroidery string or embroidery floss. Just thread will be too thin for this project. I'm using a compass, but that's optional. You don't have to use a compass in order to make the lines. And you'll need a pencil and a pair of scissors and a ruler. You're also going to need some yarn. I'm using this bulky yarn. It just makes the process go by a little bit faster and easier. And we use this beautiful variegated greenish colored one. And it looks really nice when the project is done. You're also going to need a shuttle, or you can use, this is like a yarn needle, but if you don't have a yarn needle, then I'm going to show you how to make one out of a popsicle stick. All right, so the first thing you want to do is make a circle. So this is kind of, I would consider a medium-sized circle. I don't know the diameter. But if you make them too large, it takes too long to weave this project. And for a child who's like 3rd to 6th grade, a smaller size circle is a little bit easier. Then you can get the project done in about an hour. So I use my protractor to measure off the quadrants. Now you can freehand this, and I did it both ways, but I got a little bit sloppy when I was freehanding it, and so for this particular one I decided to measure off the different lines that you are going to need. And basically you need an odd number of lines. And I am doing about 3 lines for each 90-degree section, which gives you 4 different sections. And then I'm just going to connect those lines with my ruler. Again, you can freehand this, but I found it a little bit easier to find the center of the circle using my compass, and then I found it also easier just to measure off the lines using my protractor. So here I'm counting up just to make sure that I have an odd number of lines. It's really important that you have an odd number, otherwise the weaving won't occur properly. So for this last one, I'm just going to draw one single line. It's the last one. So this section will be a little bit smaller, like closer together than the other ones. I hope this makes sense. And it's a little bit confusing the first time you do a weaving project. That's why I was trying to slow this down and just make it really clear, because I've done this before and it's been a little bit confusing for me, and so I'm just trying to make this as easy as possible for you if you want to try this project. So the next part here is you just want to cut little slits where each of those lines were, so that we can put in our embroidery thread, so that we can do our weaving. So you want like a nice little lead on the back, because you're going to have to tie that off. Then you're going to loop it around the back, and then you're going to follow that line all the way to the opposite side, and again loop it around the back, and then you're going to continue doing that all the way around the circle. So you don't want to run your embroidery thread from front to back. You just want it looped around those little tabs, because at the end of the project we're going to take that bit off, and it'll make sense as we get to the end of the project. So at the very end you just want to tie off your embroidery thread where the 2 pieces come together. And then you can cut off the excess string. It'll get confusing as you start to weave, but there's the knot. So basically it's on every other section that you have your thread looping around those tabs. Okay, so because there's an odd number of lines, that one line doesn't stay as even, but once you start weaving it will work itself out. So here I'm making a little shuttle using a piece of popsicle stick, and then I'm just going to tape the yarn in place, and I'm using about 2 yards of yarn to begin with. So I'm showing you here how you have to go under one thread and over the other. And to begin with, I would maybe go through maybe 5 sections, and then you want to carefully pull your yarn all the way through and leave about maybe an inch or so at the very end. Eventually we can cut off that piece, but for now, and sometimes I run that all the way through and have to start again. So you want to leave about an inch of extra yarn, and you want to hold it in place as you run your shuttle through the next few sections, because your yarn isn't strong enough, it's not strong enoughly weaved through in order to hold in place. But once you get about 2 revolutions through, then it's strong enough that you can just tug the yarn through. But you want to hold it here. You want to make sure that you keep going under and over. And even if you make 1 or 2 mistakes, it's not a big deal. I wouldn't unravel it to fix it. I would just continue. And you want to make sure that it's nice and snug. Well, you don't have to, but I prefer it to be nice and taut. And if you don't do it really tightly, you will get done with the project faster, but it will be a more loose weave. So again, you want to go under and over, and I'm just about done doing 1 circle around. So by the time I'm ready to do my 2nd or 3rd circle, I won't have to hold this extra piece of yarn that has that long little tail there, and I'll just be able to trim that off. So I'm going to go ahead and show you just a couple more rounds here. And here I am just going to trim off that extra piece. Okay, so after about 45 minutes or so, I am almost done with this particular project. It took my kids about an hour as well to do this size weaving project. As I got to the end, I found that the shuttle that I made using the popsicle stick was too thick to make it through. And the way that I was taught was that you really need to go all the way up to the very end here. So I used my knitting needle to get to those very last bits. Now, if you'll notice here, some of these are completely done, like I can't fit my needle through them, whereas these ones still have a lot of space. And that's because when I cut my cardboard, I wasn't very even with my cuts. So these ones were more shallow, whereas these ones were deeper. So when you're doing this, try to be as even as you can when you're cutting your cardboard. So now it's time to take the whole piece off, and don't worry about that excess piece. It will eventually, you just kind of shuffle your yarn around and it will all work out. Now these said round circle mats. Mine did not end up flat. They were circular, but as I pulled it off of our cardboard, they ended up becoming bowl-shaped, which was quite a surprise, and I actually really liked that look. So I'm just showing you here that it's tighter in the center, and it becomes more loose as you get to the exterior because the embroidery floss becomes farther and farther apart. So it's tighter in the center, and then it's looser around the edges, and it ended up in this nice bowl shape, which I really liked actually, and so did my kids. So it wasn't flat and round, but we had a good time doing it. Okay, so if you want to see some of my older videos, then please click here for a finger puppet tutorial. I also have another one. If you want to see how I made this doll, you can click here for that video. And if you want to learn how to make little finger puppet babies, you can click here for that video as well. And as always, you can check out my website at pepperandpine.com. Okay guys, thanks for watching. So here my kids are working on their project. I just stuck this in at the end to show you that they really got into this project and worked diligently for a full hour as I read aloud to them from one of our ancient Roman books, and they had a great time working on it. And it looked really nice with the variegated brown and green color. By the time it was done, it had a really nice kind of almost like an ombre effect to the little bowl when it was all finished. Okay guys, thanks for watching.